Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Allendale Strong podcast. I want to thank you for coming out and checking us out. John, how is everything in Shreveport?
Cold. I'm a little too cold, so I'm bundled up here inside, and it's been a little gloomy. So hoping for sunshine later today. How about the Super Bowl next weekend? You got a team picked yet?
Yes, I do. I am going for Kansas City
All
because
right.
Tampa Bay beat the Saints, so I can't go for them.
Yeah. Who's our guest today?
Yes, our guest today is Miss K Camp. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us, Miss K Camp. How you doing today?
This is fun. I like talking to friends and talking about money.
Oh! I love talking about
Oh,
money too.
money. Oh, I like money. Yeah, who doesn't like money,
Well,
right?
well, hey, Miss Camp, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. My background includes being born and raised in Shreveport, except for about a 20-year middle time in there. And I lived throughout Texas in a couple of large cities and lived on a ranch, lived overseas. And all of my financial background has been dealing with money as a professional fundraiser for three large groups. I'm proud of that. And as a financial advisor locally.
Oh,
I
that
am
is.
no longer, but I'm no longer working. I'm retired as of 2 years ago.
Oh, and that's the best thing. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it. Retirement is the ultimate goal for
Yeah.
everybody.
I like it.
Oh,
So
oh,
now you have time to talk about finance and wealth management. Um, that's really a great use of that lifetime experience and that skill. Thank you for coming out today on a gloomy Saturday in Shreveport. Maybe harder to fill these seats once it gets spring like and we're back in festivals, but this is great to visit with you guys
Thank you.
again.
It's a real honor to have been asked. Thank you.
Yeah, I really, since I've gotten to know you a little bit through Community Renewal International, it's you've raised the level of conversation. So let's get started, Roosevelt. I know you have some good questions for K Camp Grammar, so let's do it.
well, real quick before we jump into Miss K Camp, John, I want you to talk about, and this is still in the financial camp because Wall Street Journal article that you posted today on Facebook. Can you go a
No,
little bit into that?
yeah, I know, right? I was really surprised to see that suddenly pop up today, although I knew the writer, the author who works with a very conservative group called the Manhattan Institute, which is uh, a think tank. We in Allendale consider ourselves a think and do tank because we not only write articles and do podcasts, but we do work in the community. So, but he started interviewing people, and he started with Kim Mitchell, who we've had on this podcast previously, and he also talked to people that oppose Allendale Strong and want to build right through Allendale as if it's our only hope. You know, and so he went into both sides and gave them a very fair treatment, I think, although he did not do the work that I thought he might have done, which was to talk about the real numbers. He would, if say the president of the local chamber of commerce said, "Oh, well, you know, it's going to bring hundreds of jobs and money will come out of the sky and drop on us." And he didn't really. It was a long article. I was also surprised to see Shreveport get that much time in the Wall Street Journal, that much space. But I think we can do better, and I think that's why if we keep talking about this subject, eventually people will learn the truth about building highways through cities. And he did say, the article said that the Biden administration is probably not likely to want to build a highway through an African American neighborhood because their commitment, the Bidens have such a commitment to racial equality. So at hand, you have basically white people, business leaders wanting to build through a historic African American neighborhood. and that's teeing up to be a really contentious year between the folks who are live in Allendale in homes they're buying, they're paying for, first-time homeowners that are Alice asset limited, income constrained, employed people, and they're like, well, we'll just move them. We'll have to move them. They even talked about moving Miss. One lady had a comment. She hates that she's going to have to move a little old lady. I think she was talking about Miss Rosie Chaffel. Hates to do it, but got to be done. All about the money. And Allendale Strong says, let's build a boulevard, business boulevard, kind of like a Shreveport version of the Champs-Élysées in Paris, that's been real successful for Paris all these years, and slow traffic down so that you can walk from shop to shop and not fear that cars are going to run over you at 55 miles an hour. And, the speed of business retail is slower cars and walking and biking. So we're hoping to get built and built soon rather than later, business boulevard all the way through downtown Shreveport from North Market and MLK Drive all the way through to Allendale. And then Alice residents would be encouraged to live, work, and play right along that boulevard and open their own shops if they want to. Probably not going to get them to the point where they're opening up shops on an interstate, highway exit. It's that ugly exit culture that, has a pawn store and a gas station and maybe some sort of fast food. That's not really helping our local economy. Small businesses where Shreveporters and out-of-towners spend money locally in our small businesses will lift us all up. And we believe that the Loop would be a great place to build I-49. It's already there. It needs a lot of money, federal money, state money, and local money to rebuild it. So that's where all the empty industrial lots are sitting that we built years ago, hoping industry would be attracted. Our airport's there. You can get to the port, I-20, I-49, it's all there. So why not? I don't know why this is so contentious, but it is. And I'm grateful for the space in the Wall Street Journal, and the great comments coming in on that that are supportive of us. So everybody check it out. It's on the Allendale Strong page, and it's on Wall Street Journal's page, and it is I think a really interesting, thought-provoking article that everyone should read and comment on. So let them hear us in New York City and all over the United States. This is our chance. But
definitely is our chance.
Thanks for asking. It's a great article. And you'll find something you agree with on one side or the other. So everybody should read it, and it will educate us and inform our conversations.
Oh, definitely. Now, and that right back to Ms. Camp, because we are talking about people in the neighborhood that is cash strapped, that is usually on. I think about my mother. I think about the other people that I grew up with, and their parents that still stay in Allendale. I think about the younger people that are starting off their families in Allendale. It's usually people that have they have a good job, right? They may even have medical. They may be to that point to where they can live in Allendale. Cost of living is low. The only problem is that there's no grocery stores, there's no, drug stores anywhere close. The only thing that's close to you is I think it's Family Dollar or something like that down the street. Mm-hmm. You have to go all the way up to North Market to even use the grocery store. It's a precarious position, but financial literacy is what I like to say, the weight on the other end of that drawboard, right? It's the weight that keeps everything level. And when you have financial literacy, you're able to tiptoe through the minefield of life so much easier because you know what you're looking for and you're prepared. So can you go a little bit into financial literacy and some of the work that you've done?
I can do that. First, I want to say the most important thing for me, because I came back home to Shreveport, the most important thing is for people to have their home and to have a voice. Of course, financial literacy will help build that voice. If people want to remain in their homes in Allendale, I'm all for that. I can see the business boulevard. There are many, many needs there in the community, so I can see businesses fulfilling those needs. That would be a big magnet for successful businesses, I would imagine. To build up to having your own business, you must be personally, financially responsible. But to be personally, financially responsible, you need to know, you need to have financial literacy. That's a great phrase, Roosevelt. And I may not be pleasing everyone when I say this, but I'd like to start with the very basics of the budget, just the budget. And that's a beginning for me. It was in my own life, and I do it every month for my household. And I start with income at the top of one column, and then on the second column, I write down every item I need to spend money on. And I always have to put myself a cushion in there because these needs sometimes pile up a little larger than I planned. What we want to have is for the income to cover all those needs. And to be literate in financial work or in the financial field, you figure out early on to get an income big enough for my expenses, I may need to take another job or a better job, or I need to cut expenses. There's some addition and subtraction that goes into it. It's not rocket science, or I could not have done it. But I have built a life for myself with a very basic budget, and that has pushed me on forward with confidence. And I want to spread that confidence to people anywhere, any neighborhood, so that they can be proud to go in, ask questions, and learn how to become financially successful. And I want everyone to dream big. I want them to picture what they want to have. It might be early retirement. It might be buying your children something, might be paying for college. It may be buying a house. I want people to be successful. And that's part of the reason I contribute my time to Allendale Strong and to volunteer groups.
And we're so happy that you bring your knowledge over to. I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just suddenly remembered there was a time in my life where working two jobs was necessary, and I would lose one job, but I still had a cushion, and it seemed like I could never quite get caught up, but I did. It's almost like it gets better if you have that attitude of I will work through this and don't get too down. Has that ever happened to you, Kay? You seem like you got it together better than I had.
Let me tell you one thing about John Perkins. I am so glad he's here today. And one thing I love about John Perkins and being with him is I like his jokes. And and I even think I get your jokes. I might not. Yeah. I'm thinking I do.
Some of them only I get, but thank you. But yeah, well, hard times lead to the sense of humor, I think. helps get you through it. What I never knew, for instance, was that if living paycheck to paycheck, you know, as a young guy, and I was, of course, I had, if I'd done the columns, I might have been shocked, but entertainment was important. So that might have been bigger on the column than, say, savings. How much should a young person be saving for that day they do lose their job and don't have a second side hustle, which all of that I learned the hard way.
Right.
So, yeah, isn't savings always something you should be doing?
Yes. Whatever is left over from your earnings, what you make in your income, and then you spend from that bucket of money in your income, you take away for the expenses, utilities, rent, car payments, whatever is left over is possibly saved. It could be thrown out there and spent as discretionary income. That's what many people call it, on whatever you want it to be covering. But a lot of people save it. And that number can get bigger and bigger. And then you can really have fun learning more in the financial literacy game called investing.
Mhm. It took me a long time to learn those lessons.
It takes
But
a lot of us a long time. And by the grace of God, I was able to retire. And I spent a lot of time on my knees. I spent a lot of time working over that budget. And I became very, very serious about it because I'm going to take care of myself. And that's what a gift I want everyone to realize they can take care of themselves. Get serious, realize your power in learning about finances, and then dream big, but be willing to sacrifice. It's worth it. And sacrificing can hurt, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in the end. I've lived that many times.
indeed, sometimes gives you a sense of humor, right, Roosevelt? You learn by doing, and if you can laugh a little, it's better.
Oh
than
yeah. I
miserable.
mean, it all comes down to, for me, you know, learning it. You know, I always say that I learned financial literacy through messing up
Yeah.
all the time, right? Um, and like you said, it used to get so bad. I used to laugh at it, right? I was in the military and I couldn't afford to get an apartment, but I wanted an apartment. I wanted to get a place. So I went out, got a place with my friend. And I was telling my kids last night, they were laughing at this. We used to go to McDonald's. They used to have 50-cent hamburgers. So we'll go to the grocery store, buy a pack of cheese, then go to McDonald's and buy $5 worth of hamburgers and eat on that all weekend.
Yeah.
That's
And-
a sacrifice, you know?
yeah.
That's fun, but it's a sacrifice. But you figured out how to do it. Did you stay within your income?
But that's the problem is that me being in the Navy, all I had to do was just go and stay on the ship.
Yeah.
No problem, right? I could, eat, sleep. I had a place to sleep, place to eat, free food, free. But I was so used to living above my means, right?
Mhm.
And everybody around me lived above their means, and it just permeated into me, and it made me into the person that was messing up, right? I was that kid that didn't learn until he put his hand on the stove.
Yeah.
And the first financial lesson I got, I was evicted. My car broke down. I wrecked the car before that because I didn't have insurance on the car. So I was still making payments on a car that I couldn't drive. And I got back to the ship, and this guy was sitting there, Al Dennis. Al Dennis sitting there watching TV. And I walk in, I say, he's like, hey man, what's going on? And I'm like, all right. So we're talking. He's like, hey, let's go to the Navy store over there, right? So there's a big Navy mall on the base. So we get there, and he walks up and he pulls out his debit card, and he pays for these Jordans. Jordans were I think they were like $200 a pair. And I'm saying, man, how can you afford that? You're an E1, I'm an E3. I make more than you, but I can't even afford that. He looked at me, he said, man, I save for every pair of shoes. He said, for every pair of shoes I have, I probably have saved 6 to 4 months in a little account sitting to the side.
Mhm.
And when it's time for me to buy it, I know I have it.
Mm.
That was the first time I have ever heard of not only a young person, but a young African-American person tell me that they saved for purchases that they wanted. All I knew was if you want it, go get it. Right?
Yeah, I admire your honesty. We have all made, well, everyone I know has made tremendous mistakes. I admire that honesty and your ability to realize his conversation with you was a gift, and you took that in.
Yeah, it's little epiphanies. It's little epiphanies on that I've had on finances. Um, you know,
Did
it's
you just
just
did you discover that you really did not need some things sometimes? And
oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, keep going, because
and
you're speaking the language.
you really wanted it, but you really didn't need it. And then, a friend of mine says, what if no one was going to see me in this dress or in these shoes? Would I buy that anyway? A lot of people buy, spend needlessly to impress people, or they're filling up another need of inside themselves.
Mhm.
And it's very important, I think, to come to know yourself better, value yourself enough to take good care of yourself, and one way to take care of yourself is to save money regularly in a separate, far away, hard to get to place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's another lesson that I learned about um, same guy, Al Dennis. The guy I love him to this day. Still talk to him. Stays in Houston, Texas. Al told me about a Al told me about taking money and $20 bill, putting it in my wallet where I couldn't find it. And he said, tell me how long it's going to take you to save up the amount of money you want. And I want to say I had I checked my wallet one day and I literally had like $200 in my wallet. And I was like, why is my wallet so fat? It's empty. Right. And I just opened it up and I went to a little compartment. Yeah, John, you got that little compartment in the back, right, John?
Yeah.
And I go to the back of that compartment and it's $200 in there. And I'm like, oh my God. It dawned on me, it is that easy just to save. Just to save money. Like you said, Miss Camp, put it somewhere you can't find.
Hide it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hide it.
Yeah. I found that it was also too easy to get more credit cards. I had a Sears card first back in those days, and I could get things at Sears that I needed for the house if I didn't have the money. And after a while, I built up some credit and started getting come on through the mail. Back then they would hit you up in the mail and say, you've already qualified. You can get another card. And the temptation to do that was so strong that I would do that. So if I needed to take a trip suddenly, and then I found I needed to take trips suddenly because I could put it on that card, and then I had 2 credit card payments to make and all of a sudden I'm not really enjoying it as much as I thought I would, and it's hard to get out of that debt. You know, that's when you need a second job just to pay off all the stuff you promised yourself a couple of years ago and bought. So gosh, yeah, this is so important to learn, and I wish I'd had access to that kind of knowledge. I think my parents would have been happy to tell me that, but I wouldn't have listened. You know, I was running my own life and not doing a good job of it back then.
Well, Ms. Camp, real quick, you brought up budgets. Can you give us a little knowledge on how to build a budget and what tools they have out there for us?
Oh, I use I don't pay much in subscriptions, and I use an online budget every month, and I use the Dave Ramsey Every Dollar. I think that's the name of it, Every Dollar. And I list my income coming in before the month begins, and then I put what I expect my electric bill to be, my water bill, my food bill, and silly of me, but sometimes I cut down on that food bill to make it fit, but I end up making a mistake when I do that. And I list all of that, but I also take as much as I can, and that's just me, maybe others wouldn't want to do this, but I like to take as much as I can from that income and put it in another place. And I've only built up to that because I've been doing these monthly budgets for years. And it is interesting how you give yourself a pay raise when you can see where your money's going and you decide, oh, that's not that important. And then you put money into a separate account. A very important separate account to begin with is an emergency fund. And that is something I would want everybody to hear me say, build an emergency fund. We don't know when the next crisis is going to come. Please be kind enough, good enough to yourself to take care of your needs and your family's needs, and build up an emergency fund that could cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Most people can't do it overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And also, most people can't begin budgeting with their first budget. You make lots of mistakes, but you don't give up. You decide this is something to be serious about and that you owe it to yourself to be good enough to yourself to be successful with your dreams coming true. And so you focus on that and you continue trying to improve every month. You'll make mistakes. I haven't ever done anything when I didn't make mistakes, big mistakes. And I usually do the mistakes where God is certainly in the audience. He sees mine, they're really big. But the emergency fund is extremely important. Maybe you'll never have to tap into it. I've never known anybody who didn't have to tap into their emergency fund.
Could I ask, would you, my grandparents and my parents taught me just put, mow a yard for $10, take a couple of dollars, go to the pack-a-sack back then and put the other 8 in a bank account. Would you say bank accounts used to give interest, savings accounts don't anymore? What are other ways? I don't want to leave it sitting around my house and lose it or get it stolen, but where would you put that money?
That's an excellent question. And I think you grew up in a neighborhood like mine, John. I grew up in Anderson Island with the pack-a-sack. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bubble gum was a penny a piece. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
But then I got some cavities and I got in trouble for that. Woo.
Well, I knew the trail. I could mow a yard for $10 and then make my way over there and find something I could get. But I also had my grandfather had started a bank savings account for me when I was a baby. So when I was old enough to get the $5 or whatever up, I would go with him or my mom to the bank and make a deposit into my savings account. So, but that wasn't me doing that. That was them basically encouraging me. But I did learn an important lesson. But I don't like savings accounts now because they don't pay that 3 or 4% interest I was getting when I was a kid. So what should I do?
Well, I'll tell you, you can't be picky with an emergency fund.
Yeah.
These days, you can only find low interest. I shop for interest, but then once I get some money into those higher interest accounts, the interest rate begins lowering, you know? And I want to have my emergency fund in cash. I want to be able to get my hands on it immediately. And the only way I know, let me know if you know of another way. The only way I know to have it available as cash, or in other words, liquid, easy to get to in a separate account. I don't have to sell any investment. I can just get my hands on that account and get that cash and move it to where I need it. So I'm not picky about the interest rate. I wish they were higher. In 2007, I mean, they were really high. I mean, there have been many decades when we've had higher interest rates, but the importance of an emergency fund is to have it available in the cash form so you can use it immediately. And after the emergency fund is set, you can have plenty of investment accounts where those are tied up in investments that you have to sell, stocks, bonds, and then there's the mutual funds. But that's another set of topics we can talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that you got to wait for it to settle or something. That they sell it, and then 2 or 3 days later, you have it in your account, but you still can't get it till they change it to your bank. So you could be waiting a week on that money.
Well, let me tell you a couple of things about that. No one is taking. It takes time for money from a sale of an investment to settle. That word settle, that means find its way into your account, but you do get the date of trade price.
Right.
But it's very important to realize the stock market doesn't always go up, and we've seen that. And if your emergency fund is tied up in the stock market and the stock market is plummeting in value, it's going way down every day, dollars, and you can say it's lost. It's not lost, and we can talk about that another day. But you might want to pull, maybe you have an emergency fund of $10,000, and if you put it in the stock market, oh my goodness, the stock market plummets and it keeps plummeting daily for months. It may dwindle down to $6,000. You don't have $10,000 anymore. So for your sanity, and also I think to keep many emergencies from happening and affecting my lifestyle, keep a liquid, a cash only emergency fund.
Now, real quick, can you break down? I understand what liquid means and what liquidity is. Can you give us a definition of liquidity and liquid?
Oh, liquidity and liquid. That means if I put my money into a bucket, and that bucket is a stock or full of stocks, it's hard to get that money out. It takes time. But if I put my money into a bucket of cash, it's easy to pull that money out but always put that bucket of cash money for an emergency fund far away and not easy to tap into it every day that you need a little extra money. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes sense to me. How about yourself, John?
Yeah, it's like hiding the candy from the kids
Yeah.
and from myself. Put the ice cream at the back of the freezer where you have to do a little work and you can think about it before you get it out of the freezer. So yeah, and I have found that when I started investing in mutual funds, because friends were doing it, I was like, hey, I want to jump on that bandwagon, kind of like people are doing with Robinhood right now in the stock market. I started investing, but okay, so it grew better with mutual funds, which were a good choice for a young guy. But at the same time, when I needed it, it either wasn't there because the market had crashed like it did back in the 80s, or it was, and then I just wasn't as wealthy as I thought I was because I wasn't paying attention. So I hear what you're saying. Better safe than sorry is sort of the idea.
You want to win.
Yeah.
And this is the best plan. I think it's very basic. And when people ask me, like if you asked me all of this in a month or 2 months or a year, I would say the same boring stuff. You start with a budget, you build your emergency fund in cash, holding it at a savings account or a money market account, but it stays in cash because it's liquid, where that means that you can just take the money as cash out easily. And also, you will build investments with, I like to keep it simple, mutual funds, stocks and bonds, but do not invest, I say, until you've been educated, until you understand what you're buying into and you know the costs, the fees, the expenses, and any word that a company can use to stand for an expense to you.
Right.
Yeah. I love ETFs. I dollar cost average every month into a Vanguard ETF VOO. Sometimes I do a
What's
little dabble.
ETF stand for? What's an ETF?
Oh, ETF. Go ahead, Ms. Camp. You're the expert.
Exchange traded funds. And
Okay.
it's a bucket. The Vanguard one is just a bucket of some stocks, let's just say.
Yeah,
And nobody actively manages it, right?
Nobody actively manages, and that's what keeps the fee low. The fee is 0.03, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But so all right. What I have a question for you, Ms. Camp. What resources can you tell us about that if somebody wants to say, you know something, I watched this podcast, Allendale Strong podcast, I want to start doing the right thing, learning financial literacy. What resources would you say, go out and get this book, go to this website, go to this, because you already brought up Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And that's the man. I don't like his kind of credit card, stay away from credit card, but I understand it. I definitely understand it, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to be boring because I studied several ways to manage my money. I needed to learn a lot more at one point. And I studied and I studied, and then I read that book called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And this is not an advertisement for Dave Ramsey, except it worked for me. And I have taught his courses so all over this city and into the town across the river, BossierCity, Financial Peace University. Many churches offer it. And it's a 9-week course now, and you can do it on Zoom now. You can do it in small groups at churches at different seasons. After we get past COVID, I'm sure it will be in person in the future. But Total Money Makeover helped me a lot. Realizing what sacrifice is, and to realize that I needed to take myself seriously. And this is how others have done it. Perhaps K Camp, you can do it that one of these ways. And what happened, I built my own way. And that's my goal, my dream for people in the audience, wherever, their children. I want everyone to be able to build their own dream. And the structure required to build that dream can be learned from small groups, from Financial Peace University, the book, Total Money Makeover. We all have funny behaviors. We're all different. And the library is full of budgeting books. They even have budgeting forms in there with the columns. And you can make your own budget form to apply to your life and adjust it as you go along and age.
Yeah, I actually use, and this is not a commercial for them either.
Yeah.
Personal Capital.
Oh,
I use Personal Capital. The thing I don't like about Personal Capital, and like I said, this is not a commercial for them. Thing I don't like is they're constantly trying to push their services on you, right? The financial services, they're constantly trying to do that, and I don't like it. So that's why I was like, I kind of don't. But I'm strong enough to say no every time. Hit that little click no. And I also like Mint and mint.com. And I have a friend of mine that uses Acorn, which they take your money and they put it into the stock market.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm partial to Personal Capital because I like GUI, which is graphic interface, right? I like the charts and when I click on it, it does a little funny squiggly lines. I love that. So I'm partial to that, but Mint, Acorn, and I think you brought up one, Dave Ramsey has one.
oh yeah, the every dollar budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just downloaded it. I found it while we were talking. It's going onto my phone right now. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Personal capital is very interesting. It takes your items and itemizes it for you to make it even clearer. I mean, it's very interesting when you tie your account to and you can do that for free with Personal Capital. Tie your bank account where you use, your money will come from there when you pay for expenses. And when you do make a deposit too. It's very interesting how it does work so well if you will watch each item and make sure it is reflecting how it actually is. It's not so smart that it can live or do the work without your help.
Yeah, you have to. I like it because it sends me a little report saying, "Hey, you spent this much more or this much less than last month," and it's almost one of those things where it says, it's telling me, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have went to Slutty Vegan and bought that $30 vegan burger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, it comes back to haunt you. But I think you need that, right? I think you need that that kind of, hey, what are you doing? That finger point back at you saying, hey, buddy, did you really budget that in there? You said you was gonna do it once a month. It's the second time, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like Mr. Money Mustache says too, which I'm rethinking my debt and trying to lower it because I always carry a little bit. But he says Mr. Money Mustache is a blog that you should check out, you guys. Debt is really, you're in crisis mode. You should be hearing the alarms going on. Wah, wah, wah. I didn't hear that alarm back in my day, and I just kept adding another credit card. Then I was like, oh, I need to a new car, and I would actually buy a new car. Now I don't. I buy used cars because I can pay them down better. But I was like, I deserve, I'm 35. I deserve a brand new car. And I found out that I didn't deserve all the aggravation that went with
Amen.
that. Yeah. So
Good. Uh, yeah.
I'm kind of hard-headed.
Credit is very interesting. People get into homes, and like you were talking about, John, earlier, and they receive all of these applications for credit cards,
Mhm.
and they can apply and get them. They will be gifted those credit cards. And those credit cards are in that wallet, very easy to get to, like
Yeah.
maybe some cash.
Find right out. Yeah.
Yeah, not your emergency fund like it's hidden, but so there's those credit cards in your wallet, or maybe just one. But you want to use that because, gosh, I sure do want this, or I think I need this. And so you spend, and the new homeowner gets the bill, and maybe the new homeowner hasn't allowed for a good enough cushion in their budget.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to carry over that debt. And that debt can grow. You'll pay interest on the debt to the credit card companies, the banks. And lo and behold, your debt builds up so high that it affects your credit report. And the homeowner's insurance looks at that. And then next thing you know, your regular homeowner's insurance price goes up.
Wow.
Many companies look at your credit report. Even future employers can look at it.
Yeah.
And I'm very selfish with my interest. I don't want to pay it, I want, if anybody's going to have marble counters, I want them. I don't want my bank to have them. I want them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. House poor. I know people that struggle that work in the freelance industries like I do, and I'm lucky to live in a house that's paid for. But if they're still making their notes, and then there's a lien spell like we've had during COVID, that's a real problem. And I kind of see that in the bigger picture as a good explanation of Shreveport's situation. We've promised ourselves so much infrastructure to stretch out over so far that we can't take care of the neighborhoods, the oldest neighborhoods, anymore, because we can't borrow any more money, and the people that live here promise themselves, a lot of really nice things, but aren't willing to tax themselves at a rate, which I understand. I'm not either, to pay for everything that we've promised ourselves. So we keep borrowing from our future. I didn't get that when I was a young man, that I was basically robbing my future by paying, instead of saving all that interest and putting it away, I was paying interest to somebody in a company in New York City or wherever out in California. Bank of the West held my car notes, for instance. So Bank of the West is getting money from me, and I get to drive in what becomes a used car almost right away. So it was hard lessons to learn about that. Could we get you to do your class, your Dave Ramsey class, in friendship houses around the city? Maybe, would you be up for that?
Oh, definitely. I'd be very happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to attend one of those. Maybe we could borrow some money and fly Roosevelt in to attend the classes every week with us, or better, do them on Zoom where Roosevelt can be with us virtually. But wow, we could be doing this on Zoom and getting people educated.
Oh yeah, and really the plan is, I know Miss Camp, I think you agree to it, at least once a month, and probably even twice a month, right? But at least once a month, we're gonna have something we're gonna talk about financial literacy, and it's gonna be financial literacy for the people, right? It's gonna be financial literacy for the homeowner, for the person that struggles, for the senior citizen, for the person that's retired, right? Because we have a lot of retired people that stay in the Allendale area, stay in the Shreveport area, stay in Bossier, right? When you're on a fixed income, it becomes even more essential to your everyday life. Financial literacy becomes essential for to make it every day. So that's the plan, is for bring Miss Camp on, and we're gonna put that knowledge out there that you have up there, right? And
Thank you.
and we want to help. We want this to go everywhere, not just Allendale. We want it in Highland, Benton, Mansfield,
Yeah.
right?
My kids that are around 20, yeah. I want them, they don't do the same mistakes I did. But yeah, what are 3 takeaways while we're setting this up? What 3 things should we remember today that I can start on this week?
Okay. I think realistically looking at your lifestyle, sit down, take yourself seriously, and write down your income. Make a complete list. And that takes some rolling up your sleeves. Complete list of your expenses. Those I call the needs. I want those expenses to be the needs.
Mhm.
Then some more expenses can be your wants.
Mhm.
The third thing would be any leftover money can either needs to go first to an emergency fund until it's funded, or second, after the emergency fund is funded, it can go into a bucket of money. And then the fun part begins. You can learn from financial advisors, from teachers. You want a financial advisor, by the way, who can teach. You want to know what is out there. And then one day, if you want to retire, you're able to retire and you don't have to rely only on a fixed income. Let's break that cycle. Let's encourage all to know how to put forth more effort and to focus on where that effort needs to go and make their lives better, whatever that means.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love it. And this right here is a great place to go ahead and wrap it up, right? Because we can talk about this all day. We literally talk a whole podcast before we even started. So, but I want to thank you, Miss Camp, for coming in with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Saints or Cowboys, Miss Camp? Saints fan?
Oh,
Cowboys fan?
definitely Saints, New Orleans Saints. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I
Next year
like
in the
you.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I like you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back. I'm always surprised when I get to show up.
Hey, Judd,
Yeah.
you are man. You the man. I already told you. You
No,
the man. So
you are the man, and especially all the way dialing it in from Georgia. That's really cool because you're not here with us, but you are in spirit. So we really appreciate you, and we talk about you behind your back all the time, Roosevelt, and it's good.
Hey, if you're not, I must be doing something right. Because when you're out here, you ain't doing anything, nobody talks about you. But when you're doing something right, they talk about you. So, hey, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, tell them where to find us.
Hello, everyone. I am talking right now to my cousin, Miss Regina Rye, real estate agent in the Shreveport area. Look at that beautiful smile, everybody. How you doing today, cousin?
I'm great, cuz. How are you?
Ah, man, I cannot complain. We're going to go right into the reason I brought you in here because we can talk about family stuff all day. The reason I brought you in here is to talk about the Shreveport real estate environment. And first, before I
Okay.
even do that, I'm gonna hit you with some a fact off of Yahoo Finance, where they talk about the number of homes for sale in U.S. reached an all-time low in December, dipping below 700,000 for first-time buyers as they uncharacteristically remain active in the holiday season. I mean, the COVID has really changed a lot of stuff. It changed how people are buying cars, how people are buying just computers and things like that, gifts. Also, they're changing how they're buying homes. I mean, we have an all-time low of inventory in the housing market, but people still want to buy, and it's driving those prices up. How is it affecting the Shreveport area in your view?
Well, so far, just to give you a few of the facts. So, in the month of December, there were approximately 968 homes for sale in the Shreveport-Bossier area. Of that amount, 441 of those homes sold. Okay. So, in that price range, the um, homes that are priced under $150,000 was approximately 162 homes. And that's the average price range that you're seeing pretty much working families afford. The next price range is between 151,000 to 250,000, and there are approximately 152 of those priced homes on the market in Shreveport-Bossier. So there are homes out there being sold every day. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I wrote a contract for a lady that's in the Highland area on Centenary Boulevard, and we had a price war. Like it was a situation where we had a double bid, and so we're patiently waiting to see who's gonna, get the contract. And so at this time in the market, it's just prices. Although prices are high, people are still buying.
All right, my next question to you is, seeing that we're having price wars and people are out here still trying to buy homes, how can a person better position themselves to be ready for it? Be ready to go out and buy a home. Be ready to make an offer and do a contract. What can the average person in Shreveport do to be ready to buy a home?
Most importantly is credit. If your credit score is at a minimum of 580, some lenders can get you approved for a mortgage loan, a FHA mortgage, or conventional mortgage. The conventional mortgages, you would have to pay a little bit more. You would have to pay 10% down, whereas the FHA is 3.5%. So I would always suggest that people go to annualcreditreport.com. On that website, you can print or save copies of all three credit bureaus for your credit reports. And at that point, you can view what's on your credit, dispute anything that's negative, and kind of work on your credit yourself as you prepare to become ready to purchase a home. Now, while you're working on your credit, you also need to save money for a possible down payment, closing costs, that type of thing. So, average house, I'll say just for number's sake, $100,000, you would be looking at 3.5% down payment, which would be $3,500. So, in order to prepare yourself to become ready to buy a home, you would need to work on your credit, have at least a 580, but 620 is ideal, and then save up some money so that the bank can see a paper trail of how you're saving your money and where your money is coming from. Once you do that, you have the opportunity to basically apply for what's called a 203K rehab loan. And these loans are for distressed properties in primarily Black neighborhoods. And so I have been suggesting to people that they purchase in these areas and either keep the home or rent it out as a rental property. You can use that 203K loan to finance the home and also finance any repairs that are needed for that home. And then it's all into one mortgage note.
And you segue right into, you see my background, Allendale Strong. We're pushing for the revitalization of Allendale, but not only just Allendale. I mean, we're talking about Cedar Grove, we're talking about Lakeside, we're talking about Cooper Road, we're talking about
Queensboro.
Queensboro. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about all over the place. And I'm glad you brought up that 203 loan, 203K loan. I said that right, correct? 203K.
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of distressed homes in the Shreveport area, in Black neighborhoods, in the inner city. And one of the things that, we're pushing for Allendale Strong is for us to come back into the city and don't wait for gentrification, right, to come in. We can go ahead and populate the inner city area. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
buy a home you can afford, then turn around, fix it up. You can either sell it or rent it out, right? That's the extra
Absolutely.
income stream coming into it. And I'm man, I mean, you walk right into that one. That was perfect. And talking to our financial advisor, Kate Camp, we went over credit. We went over how to repair your credit and went over how to save up and to start making decisions with budgets and things like that. Because saving up is a very essential thing. And
It
as you're
is.
saving, you can also be working on your credit. All right.
Absolutely. And
Um,
for me personally,
mhm.
I worked on my own credit and I started about a year before I knew that I would be ready to buy. So while I was working on my credit, I was also saving money and I realistically gave myself a time frame of a year to, have everything in order. And I would suggest at that point, when you feel like your credit score is where it should be, that you have a mortgage lender run your credit and they can say, well, you're ready. You have the perfect score, or this is your score, pay this bill down to this amount, and, so forth.
See, and I love that personal story because when I bought my house, I had to get my credit right. I had made some mistakes myself, right? And it once you fix, man, when you fix that credit, it feel like a monkey off your back, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. You feel
Well,
free, you
huh?
know,
What's
you feel
that?
free.
Yes, you feel definitely shackles off your
Yeah,
feet. Well, we're
absolutely. No bill collectors harassing you, all that good stuff.
there. You go. There you go. So we're gonna stop it right here because we're gonna see you a lot. We're gonna see you a lot and hear you a lot on this podcast. Tell everybody where they can find you, get your information if they want to work with you, Miss Regina Rye, the real estate agent.
Well, first and foremost, you can give me a call, shoot me a text message. My number is 318-505-2808. You can also email me, Regina Rye, that's RYE, the realtor, at gmail.com. Locally, I work for Century 21 on Fern Avenue, so you can always call the office and they can transfer a call to me as well.
All right, all right. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm gonna put your information below for on the YouTube channel and also for the podcast. I'm gonna make sure that it's on our website that you'll be able to see all your information. Like I said, you're gonna be coming on here a lot. We're gonna pull all the info out of that brain of yours. I know you got a lot up there.
I
We're gonna
love
be
to help.
pulling on it. Well, thank you for coming to talk to us today, and we will definitely see you soon.
All right, thank you for having me.
Roosevelt, and we got a website coming up too now. So I'll have an announcement about that next week. But tell them where to find us.
Oh,
Before
definitely.
we,
Everybody, look for us on Facebook. Look for us on IG. Look for us on Twitter. All right. Also, look for us on YouTube. You probably find us on YouTube on RDB underscore on the channel, YouTube channel that I have up. And also look for us. I should be posting them today. So look for us on all of the podcast places that you find your favorite podcast, from Apple to Google to all over the place, right?
oh, cool. That's
So
awesome.
So look for us everywhere. Make sure that you are checking the hashtags Allendale Strong, hashtag development without displacement,
Yeah.
and look for us a little bit more of doing things out here. The Fuller House, Community Renewal International, they're doing great things out here. And if we have a lot of people that ask us, if you need to get with us, please come to the Facebook page, DM us on Twitter, DM us on Instagram, DM us on Facebook, send us a private message, and we will send you a link for the monthly Zoom meetings that we have. People, please pledge. All right, we take money. Yes, we do. Pledge to Fuller House, pledge to Community Renewal, and also pledge to Allendale Strong to help us spread the word on the embedment of Allendale and the embedment of Shreveport-Bossier as a whole. Thank you for checking us out. Please subscribe, please like, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. All right.